It's a Michael Scott type dude in one of the back offices, just squinting at pictures of the two non-white, not fully white people in this, like, going, now which one of these is more convincingly black? I choose her. That's so dark. That's so... Go bring me this one. So this came out just a little while ago. And I just love it for the thumbnail. If I can get the thumbnail, please. So this is the thumbnail. It's actually, I think it's a little bit different, but this is from 7 hours ago. My man is fucking turning them out. Asmongold has to be making like $500,000 fucking dollars a week, bro. Like that. This is insane amount of views. Like, he's doing great. I don't know what the fuck he is spending any of this on. Like, I feel like he just gets paid and just like takes all of the money out and just throws it in a big pit in his backyard and burns it. Like, he's just standing there and naked beneath the eclipse watching a giant pile of money burn. The little shadows that are sneaking out of his shadow just like all over his fucking body. Okay, so this is it. It's time to stop them. They're destroying our games. I don't know what this is going to be. I was just so excited about this thumbnail that I wanted to see it. I don't know how sometimes he gets the good lighting or if his like editor does that for him.
Just another video about this this topic I want to talk about, get into. Destroying games.
This video is brought to you by Incogni. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire operational community. All right, this particular video comes at a bit of an inopportune time. See, the concept of them destroying your games could refer to a lot of things, especially for those engaged in the political side of gaming commentary. But for the sake of clarity here, I'm talking about
intergalactic vampires.
And every time, don't forget, every time somebody starts just saying a nebulous they, you guys gotta ask real quick, are you talking about Jews? And if it doesn't seem that it's distant enough, just assume they're talking about Jewish people. Especially all of the fucking, like, Asmongold has talked to and like covered and been highly agreed with by like all of the people that are either just do the JQ as like their content, or they're a degree over. So I guess this guy's going to be clarifying, but let's see.
Publishers, and I'm also not hovering on the brink, metaphorically speaking. Publishers are, quite literally here, destroying games, rendering them unplayable for you, and thereby, in my opinion, stealing your money, while circumventing whatever laws they can in the process, or more descriptively, taking advantage of a regulatory environment where laws to protect the purchases that you make in this category don't seem to effectively be defined at all.
That's completely accurate, by the way. There are no regulations on this, so companies take advantage of it.
Damn it,
and they do what they want to do to save money, and the customer is the one who suffers.
It sounds kind of extreme to some, but it's actually...
I get to fucking make that mistake, though, because he has just been talking about fucking DEI for like 5 months now. How long? Ever since I saw him, basically. He did the room tour, and then every fucking video after that has been like, hey, man, fucking gay people in video games, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. They shot Batman? Wow. This is actually... I think Stellar Blade was like in the background, so like, what in the fuck? Did I get clickbaited? I guess I did. Well, we'll see. I'm only a second in, though.
It's a very pressing issue that rose to prominence over the past 15 or so years, give or take. There's plenty of individual examples here, but the best way to start is by showcasing the general industry transformation. Video games have
JQ means the Jewish question. JQ means the Jewish question, which is kind of a part of a deeper insinuation that Jewish people exist, or there is a cabal of Jewish people that control the world government and stuff, and like they are doing shit to make your life worse. You can't really get into it because almost everybody that talks about it has a different version of it. You get to like Zion operated government and shit, but a lot of it boils down to the reactionary takes that you see on a day-to-day basis. a lot of them are informed by, or even sometimes created by, people who legitimately believe in the Jewish question. The Jewish question is quite literally like, should we start exterminating Jewish people because of their negative influence on society? That's the question. The Jewish question has, if you look into the 1940s, a final solution to it. So that it's the two halves. Using reactionary politics. This is actually why reactionaryism is bad, is because a lot of it boils back down to that. Even if people aren't doing the JQ, somehow it always gets put back on Jewish people in like the craziest way possible. It will go blip, 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 click, and then all of a sudden you're right back there again. Because you normally just hit a natural like no space because you're making up conspiracy theories. It's all conspiracy theories. And you can only say lizard people or like world government or shadowy figures for so long before you have to actually hone in on a group of people. And you always, inevitably, no matter what direction you come from, you hit Jewish people. So whenever you hear whenever you hear a nebulous they, always just ask people, like, are you talking about Jews? And have them be very, very specific about why it's not Jewish people at all. Because I'll tell you what, actual racists will, like true anti-Semites, even like 50% anti-Semites, will hear they and naturally just go like, oh, you mean the Jews? Yeah, all right. So is this a Jewish thing? Trans people are a Jewish thing? Okay, all right, I got you. The whole anti-trans narrative is mostly JQ shit, unironically. The black population 1350 number that gets posited out there, that's a Jewish question fucking conspiracy. That's a JQ offshoot. Because the suggestion is that Jewish people are creating the preconditions to increase black crime in America. Like they're pursuing policies of doing this, that, and the other in order to like create bad outcomes for white people ultimately. And it goes in a lot of different directions. All of the DEI stuff. Every time you hear somebody complaining about DEI, which is it's the nothing burger. Every time you look into it, I've done as much research as I can. I've never seen DEI destroy any game. Most of the time, if they complain about it in a game, the game's been released. A lot of the times, it's been very successful. Sometimes they're flop games, and it's just merely the presence of DEI in there. The important part about it is to show people that have no protections against this, that there are cabal conspiracies in the world, and they are making things worse for you in measurable ways. It's not actually true. But once you've primed someone that way, they're way more susceptible on the next pass to getting closer and closer and closer to saying, like, I think Jewish people are doing this. You'll get a sneeze. I guarantee you, if you look into the entirety of the DEI thing, wherever it started, the onus point from whoever brought it up and started putting it out there, more than likely it's the same guy that did the trans thing. He's just he's a literal Nazi. You're always a degree of separation from an actual Nazi all the way down. That it's like, okay, I'm just going to preemptively assume every time you hear it, they, and they don't explain specifically who, not an organization, not just like a nebulous, like, oh, the games industry. No, I want to know who did a thing, because if something happened, some person did it. And if you don't know who and you keep saying they and just nebulous agency, it always fucking JQ at the end. And then what's the answer? What's the ultimate answer to all these questions that don't have like, well, I don't know what the solution would be. That's always that they say too. I don't know what the solution to this is. There's a lot of questions. I'm just asking questions, and there's certainly a solution to this, but I don't know what it can be. And then someone in the back is just like, I think I know what the solution is. I have an idea what the solution is. Could you please call on me? I have my hand raised. It is off-screen raised in a way that won't upset the TOS, but I have my hand raised. I have the answer to the question. Every fucking time. To the point, I'm sick of it. It's one of the Tyler hates bad content things. Like, I'm sick because it's like, I want a good conspiracy. You know? Once upon a time, X was cool. 4chan's X board. It always, every time. If everything that these people bring up, every time, if it's a DEI, if it's trans, all the time where you hear something and you're like, well, that does seem like a problem, but I don't know what the solution is, or like, and you don't really identify what the actual problem is either. You're just like, it's generally a vibes-based problem. Go dig 3 layers down, following it timeline back to the first people that muttered it, and it's always going to be some fucking CPAC attendee. That even CPAC is like, we have to have this guy. He can't speak, but he can like scream through a microphone outside the Conservative Political Action Committee. Like he could scream in a megaphone outside of there. That's what, you know, we don't want him on the official stage, but in the sideways stage, like he's great. He's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like every fucking time. I mean, all the people that are actually doing any of this stuff are more than, like, statistically speaking, white, like highly placed executives in American, multi-billion-dollar American fucking corporate or corporations and multi-million-dollar industries, billion-dollar industries, corporate heads of multi-billion-dollar industries in America. Like, yeah, the white is going to be pretty much universal standard. All of the religious aspects are going to be tacked on, but like when you are pre-programmed to try to find a Jew, you're going to find them real quick because like that's what they want you to do. Once upon a time, you know, they would cheat like in the 1940s and 30s in a place called Germany. They would cheat and they would just like mark them ahead of time, but like you would still try to find like secret Jews, and that's what you try. Like what you, it's fucking, that's all it is, all the way down. It's always depressing when it just happened to be racism at the end of the day. Like DEI in many workplaces doesn't really exist beyond the title. There's a lot of research showing it hasn't done anything for diversity in the workplace. All it's done is rile up racist. Yeah, it's really the same as like certain aspects of, I just kind of like, there's no way to say this in a percentage based way objectively, but it is the liberal racial integration policies is the best way to describe it. Have been a mixed bag because they're very strange. They have to have a lot of preconceptions about the people in your workplace, and a lot of times they're put together. Here's the thing. If you put together education for people in a workplace that presumes the lack of education for the people in that workplace, the people in that workplace better feel fucking educated by it, or they're going to feel spoken down to. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like a mandatory thing with very clear results. Like, the possibility of being racist to somebody is such a specific to both the person and you type thing. You know what I mean? Because you can be like, you could say like, oh man, beans and rice again, Miguel, to somebody, and it's like your buddy Miguel, and he eats beans and rice every day. And that's not racist. But if like you just say it like randomly to a fucking Mexican dude, like that could be racist. But it's also not the same as just calling them a slur. And it's not, I'm not saying like justify any of this, whatever, but the deviations and the subtle gradations in that are so difficult to articulate in 15 to 45 minute classes, you know, that are not standardized really across the board, that it's very easy to create classes like that where you have to, like a lot of consultants that go around, preemptively presume an extremely virulent presence of a problem that may not exist in the workplace, or at least pretend like it's everywhere. And then you create these like curricula that look psychotic because it's just like, did you know that like 10% of, like, if they look around you, look to your left, look to your right, fucking 2 of you have been racist in this room kind of shit, where people are like, well, that's kind of like ridiculous, you know, because it shows up in like pods. One racist person can really account for like 80% of the racism that happens in an area sometimes because like they're popping off. But when you kind of spread out the population distribution, you're not taking it from a sample that makes sense, but you're trying to treat the problem as though that sample is creating it. This is kind of difficult to fully explain, but a lot of these classes end up sort of preaching down to people and articulating problems that people just don't see in the workplace, like at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, they're important sometimes, you know, but a lot of them can be handled better with just standard, like, it's more of a thing that society kind of has to get over. Like, you know, it's like if you had a class and you went in and they were like, everybody needs to start putting the toilet seats down in the restroom. You need to start putting this, like, one lady has like fallen in and fucking she fell in the toilet because people haven't been putting the fucking toilet seats down. This is not me talking about my personal life. Nobody fell in. You know, and if you go to like a place and you start giving that speech as though these people have been doing it, they can feel, because it's a personal failing, not like a just like a safety shortcoming or something like that for something like OSHA. It's a personal failing that's kind of really deep seated. They'll go like, well, why are we getting a class on this thing? And like, if it's also like none of us are doing it, or like you're working in a fucking workplace that doesn't have toilet seats that lift or something like that, people will start going, what the shit is happening? And then a lot of these DEI programs, because they're not standardized, the teaching programs, it ends up where you get mixed messaging, where you have DEI courses that are put together by some person that doesn't even understand the shit at hand. They just take like okay, well, what if Fox News says people are making money off of making these DEI classes? Well, I'll make one. And then they make their own DEI class. I covered one of these basically 4 or 5 months ago. If you guys look back in the record, it was one that's this is a black lady. She's on that grind, which is cool, giving rich white women a course in how to not be racist. And it just comes across like weird and stupid from the outside, kind of no matter what, even if those ladies kind of were. And that's the thing, is they're not standardized. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Nobody agrees what is and isn't racist inside the gray lines, which is where most of these courses kind of live. You don't need a course to tell everybody like, hey, don't say the fucking N-word, all right? Hey, just don't draw the swastika on your fucking Jewish neighbor's locker. People aren't doing that in businesses, and that's already just covered under standard harassment. But a lot of these courses, and from what I've seen, my dad has to take them because he's like a little corporate person now. And he's just like, they're good, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's kind of like a company mandates it for like insurance reasons type thing, as opposed to like, we're legitimately trying to mitigate racism. It's more like, we are legitimately trying to mitigate lawsuits about racism. You know, hey, we had the DEI course, but for some reason that like oddly, highly capitalist, highly corporate thing, which is weird and feels strange to any fucking working class person, because you don't even think of things in those terms. When it gets re-articulated through you're being preached to by fucking dipshit purple-haired college students who now have like cushy consultants jobs, you're going to go like, oh, well, fuck these people. Fuck them hard. Like, this is bullshit. My favorite work story is when I, an unqualified black woman, went to work expecting it to be a normal day, hair a mess, hoodie on, tired, and then all of a sudden I was speaking to a group of underprivileged children that were taking a studio tour. I was one of 1.5 black people. God. Who is that? Shout out 0.5 black people. Can we get chest bumps in chat? Not me. It's not me, but I just if you are the 0.5 black people out there in the world, that shit, I respect the fuck out of that. I don't understand that struggle. I don't know it, but like, and the fucking white boss comes up to you like, well, we need someone to convince everybody that we're cool with the blacks in this company. All right, so well, you're one and you're 0.5 black, so we're gonna put you on the back burner, Stewie. Come on, hop out here. It's a fucking Michael Scott fucking type dude in one of the back offices, just squinting at pictures of the two fucking non-white, not fully white people in this, like, going, now which one of these is more convincingly black? I choose her. That's so dark. Go bring me this one. You, the 0.5 black, get to the front of the crowd. Can you do a dreadlocks? No, you have white hair? Okay. What if we frizz it up a little bit? Fuck. I don't understand. It's not my. It's not my. I don't. It's not me. You know what I mean? I don't. I never have and never will have to go through that. But just I've seen y'all. My heart goes out to the the weirdness of that, the frustration. Get smoked. Oh man, you go to hell for this. I mean, baby. It was interesting how the Supreme Court decision against affirmative action made an exemption for the military because the military knows how important representation and unity is. Oh yeah. Just leave the operations of the military out of it. The thing about the military too for affirmative action is the military actually has the ability to kind of enforce it in an interesting way. Hold on, Asmongold. Let me just talk about something that's actually fucking interesting for a second. Don't worry, we'll go back. We'll go back to Asmongold. We will go back. But like, this is the thing. So I read The New Jim Crow. There you go. The New Jim Crow. That's a good book to read. Great book to listen to too. The New Jim Crow kind of goes into the prison industrial complex. To boil it down, but the author of it, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, please chat if you want to shout her out. She articulates how affirmative action is kind of impossible. And a lot of racial equity or equality, however you want, racial equity programming is kind of next to impossible. So like to put into practice because of the way that laws are made in America, because they're so vibes based, right? While you can maybe go for civil on some of them, actually the actual legal concerns, things like racial profiling, things like race crime, saying like, oh, this, we're putting a modifier on here for this person having done this racially, like this is a fucking a hate crime. There we go. Jesus Christ. Those are really difficult to get through and can actually complicate the process a bunch because first off, Americans can be racist as fuck, and a lot of them are. And when you go to a jury pool, you can't really prove someone's racist to the degree that you need in a criminal court, which is beyond a shadow of a doubt, without having a lot of extenuating evidence. You have to basically have them on camera saying, no, I fucking despise them. I hate them. I want them hanged. Like, you have to have like that level psychotic shit. Otherwise, you can't you can't routinely secure convictions or modifiers on that, depending on what sort of, what court system that you're in, like what district. And so they become very difficult. It's the same when you go to a lot of the equity programs and stuff, because it's like, okay, like, we do this for this race, that race or something, but like, how do you prove it? And then you start creating things like the blood quantum system that fucking is like torturous for Native American. And like, without getting to it, the person that wrote the book will do a much better job of articulating it than me. And it's not that those programs are bad or that there's not a place for the programs. It's just at this point, the kind of battle for them has weirdly been lost. And that loss was kind of presupposed, especially by a court decision in, I can't remember the specific court decision, but basically there was a court decision that absolutely ankled hate crime legislation and a few other different things for various reasons. And kind of it put the whole thing into a bad position to kind of go forward. Or the actual battle to win is not by trying to get kind of milquetoast programs that presuppose the good actions of people. Like, hey, we are actually going to actively act as anti-racist. America would have to have a minimal amount of racist people that were trying to like mitigate their racist actions, and have a population that is not just knowledgeable on racial issues, but anti-racist to actually like get everything done. But that's almost utopic, because at that point you wouldn't need the law anyway. And so like the law sort of presupposes things that are impossible outside of certain jurisdictions. And they're just very difficult. It kind of sucks overall. I mean, it's like, I wish things were better. And like, yeah, if we could just pass a law that would like, hey, racism is illegal, that would be dope. But like, when you do it, if you think about it, when you get into it, it's like, okay, so but you're actually kind of punishing thought crime. in a way, you know what I mean? Because you would either have to have somebody break the Fifth Amendment and like literally like you have to compel somebody's testimony against themselves and be like, can you tell me that you're racist? Are you a racist person? And all they have to say is either I plead the fifth or no. And like, how can you prove the no without like static evidence? You know what I mean? And that goes from criminal cases all the way to civil cases and, you know, just even like basic policy inside companies. It's just so difficult to do that you would probably spend more time trying to drum up and like concentrate and collate evidence against somebody that would suggest that they're racist than you would just punishing actual crimes that they may have committed. It's very interesting, and it's not necessarily black pilled, but it is definitely like, I don't know. I would call it like a resurrection pilled. Like, okay, Phoenix pilled. It's very Phoenix pilled. It's like, okay, this program and this attempt at fixing things needs to go away. And so we need to move on to the next thing. So it's like, if I ever had that be like, if I had a hard be asked, like, do you think it's bad that affirmative action got taken down? It would be technically yes, in a like spiritual way, you know, in like an ethical way. I think that is bad, but also no in a way where I'm just like, it was already such an embattled and like not really working thing, and it would be used so often against people that it would be like it was just used against people. It's an insult. Like, if you're a black woman in America, you have more than likely had somebody suggest, if you succeeded at anything, that you were a diversity hire. Even if you start your own business from scratch with no fucking money down, somebody's probably been like, well, you know, affirmative action. And it's just like a fuck crazy insult, you know. It's like food stamps are all social welfare things. But trying to get to the benefits and shit is kind of crazy. So just reorganizing it and passing a better, stronger, and less like breakable by the judicial system law is probably the better way forward. And sort of trying to save something that Republicans and neoliberals and even some like kind of center left Democrats have kind of willingly stabbed to death over the course of like 50 or 60 years, you know, like just let that thing go and then try to pass a new thing. It's an ugly way to go forward, but like, I think it's probably the only way. The cool thing about the military, so now that I've explained that, let me get by why to the military keeping it is cool, is because the military has vibes-based anti-thought crime laws. The military can decide that you probably thought something and then you're in trouble for it, which is crazy, right? You would think that's psychotic. It's Article 134, general article. Get fucked. Or Article 86 or whatever it is, conduct unbecoming. Both of those types of things. So if you just have the stink of racism on you, to the level that like a lot of like Republican senators do, you know what I mean? Like if you're Tom Cotton, right? If you're Tom Cotton doing Tom Cotton shit in the American corporate world, no one can do anything to you because all you have to do is say like, no, all right? And you won't meet the threshold for evidence that's needed to prove that you're a bad dude. The American military has considerable more power and privilege over the top of the people that work for it because it's a volunteer force. First off, it's a volunteer force that you are a part of because you joined it, not something that you're literally born into, or you have to be subject to because of the incidentality of you being inside of America, which is why the American system has to be, the American legal system has to be more lax because it will cause revolutions if it was as strict as the American military system. But the UCMJ, if you're just like, you have this stink of fucking racism on you, you're just in trouble now. They'll take you up and like fucking the officers will be like, all right. They don't have to fucking prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to just say, I think that's what it is. You're fucked. Like, it's a crazy different world. You know, when you can get criminally charged for vibes are off. You know, and that's, I know a lot of people are probably thinking like, well, damn, man, I wish I had some of that for anti-racist stuff. You don't want that. You don't want that in common society. It's a very good thing for the military. For a volunteer military, especially. For a volunteer military, perfect type of law. For anything else, bad. Very, very bad. Because think about it, you can also do thought crime in the other way. So, you know, once upon a time, you could probably get in trouble for being like weirdly anti-Christian, you know what I mean? Or having like communist vibes once upon a time. So not something that you want levied against the general populace. What if the cops aren't some of those people? I got pulled over, nearly ticketed like 2 months ago because I didn't entirely stop at a stop sign. Rolling stop, yeah, that happened. That happened when I was a kid growing up. I mean, obviously I'm not fucking black, but we were like in a poor area ish, and so like if you had a shitty car, you could get pulled over for stuff instantaneously. And my fucking friend from high school got a rolling stop ticket with me in the car one time, and I mean it was rolling stop like this, like that. Like you can't, like the degree of not stopping is like crazy. But if they don't see the shift back, they can pull you over. And we got a ticket for it. And it was a ticket that was like checking it out. You know, I've been fucking patted down just from driving around out of the wrong neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So like I get it. I understand. You know, I know what that's like. I just don't know to the extent of like what it's like for other people. It's got that it could be worse is fucking insane, because just having one cop touch your fucking balls and asshole because you drove off the wrong street is gnarly. Like, it fucks you up. I was like 16 and we got pulled over just because we were leaving. Like, I mean, we were at a house party, but it wasn't even the house party that they thought we were at. It was just a shitty neighborhood. And so we drove out of the shitty neighborhood. Boop, 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 boop. Got us down. All right, you guys been drinking? Like, literally no. We have not. Okay, it kind of smells like something in here. What do you got going on in there? What's going on? Out on the back, on the side of the car, like 10 fucking cops. Didn't do shit. Literally left with a warning of like, hey, don't be you again near me. Like that. Spread and fucking fondled, bro. Shit's rough. Shit sucks. If that happened to me every time I went to the corner store, I'd probably have a pretty big fucking chip on my shoulder, to say the least. I know too much military people, and the stuff they say hits, and the stuff you say hits too close to what they say at times. All in. As a teen in the 90s, I grew up in a very upper middle class town. Cops would pull over to harass kids wearing flannel shirts. Yeah. That's the thing is, racism is bad, but don't get it in your head ever that ending racism, whatever that means, wherever you're from, is going to end misuse of power by authorities. Because especially as long as capitalism, basically, as long as capital is a motivating factor and people can just buy additional rights and in like over the top of what you were given, there will always be a new underclass. Like, and that was the thing. I was hard to articulate when I was growing up, but when I was growing up, I was fucking poor, right? Not like in poverty. Like I wasn't like eating out of fucking milk or eating out of trash cans and shit. Milk cans? What does that mean? You know, we didn't have nothing or anything like that, but there was a clear delineation in how much money other people around where I lived had versus us. And the cops did not live where I lived. And so, like, if you left your area, if you fucked around, if you did anything, the cops would fuck with you. And I saw a specific delineation. This is in Cincinnati. I knew the moment where I started dressing different, and when I bought a nicer car, I could tell when the cops started fucking with me. I was getting pulled over into my mid-20s. Fucking combat veteran, the whole shebang. Car looked sus because I had a fucking beater work truck. You know what I mean? Pulled over for nothing. Oh, we heard reports about a car in the area. You know what I'm saying? It affects everybody. And, you know, in my neighborhood, we didn't have, like, basically any black people when I was a kid. As far as I know. None that I knew personally. I think my high school had, like, 10. You know what I mean? And so when there's no black people, they find a new version of whatever it is they're trying to do with black people. They always find a new minority because that is required to maintain the sense of displacement between you and the ruling class that allows the ruling class to say, we're going to fuck with you today. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't mind, you know, you are lazy and shiftless. There's a reason that we have everything, and it's certainly not because we're greedy and we take our fill and we make sure all of our people eat before yours. Most likely it's because of the iniquities of your poor and meager birth. Whether that is because of the race that you are or because of the lack of money that your dad had growing up, they don't really care because they will go in any sort of way, shape, form, or fashion to arrive at the same results because that's how they stay in power. My area is blood tribe country. Is that real? That's fucking sick, dude. Milk cans is a crazy thing to say. Freudian slips, perhaps. I don't even know what the slip would be because I'm white and I was drinking out of milk cans. Just all us white folk just when we're not doing too good, just crawling on, I need milk to live. My whiteness is slipping away. Give me the milk. He shat on this motherfucker. My children are going without. We have not had fresh milk in years. Look at him. He's starting to fucking like. District 3 cops, Green Township, for me. So I don't think it's not even CPD. Ours was, I grew up in Green Township, so it would be Green Township Police. We didn't even have the white shirts up there. And Hamilton County Sheriffs. But Green Township Police were fucking assholes. And then I've been to other different places. But yeah, we were over there and fucking bloop, 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 bloop. That's how you know you're about to get fucked with, by the way. If you've ever been pulled over by the real cop siren, the shitty one, not the one that goes boop, beep, boop, boop, that, if you've never been chirped over to the side of the road, like they know that you know the score, then you haven't truly lived. You know what I mean? You get like a little traffic ticket. Yeah, they turn the whole thing on like, well, we've got to pull over a white, all right, of some affluent means. Yeah, you make sure that they understand it's time for them to pull over to the side of the road. But like if you're fucking scummy, you get the boop boop whoop boop 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 boop. Fucking they just triggered a few times. All right, you know good, Nick, off to the side of the road. What are you hiding in your underwear? I'm going to put my fingers straight into your asshole until I find out. It's a wonderful way to spend any 5 minutes if you can. Just have a strange cop you've never met. Just fucking all the way up there, bro. People will pass local and state laws because state sovereignty has state sovereignty, but local laws and the more specific law is always the one that they're supposed to be following. In Canada, you can say, "Hey, girl, want to show me them milk bags?" and not have it be sexual harassment. That is crazy. How is that possible? Thank you for explaining. As an outsider to mainland U.S., I often hear complaints about the police in the U.S. I've also noticed that it's usually right-wing people that are against federal law. Please correct me if I'm wrong. No, you're correct. That's because that's an ancient. This is civics education in the middle of the Asmongold video. Editors, by the way, you can always cut these long diversions out. Civics lesson. Once upon a time, America had a civil war, and before that, we had a Revolutionary War. The development of the current American legislative system goes back all the way to 1776 and spiritually even further back to all the way to the Magna Carta. I'm boiling down a lot of legal theory and precedents and stuff, but basically there are two primary legal systems in America. The first and most powerful legal system in America is that instituted by the Constitution of the United States of America. That is federal law. That's the beginning part of federal law, is the Constitution, because that prescribes how laws in the legislative section are even established. The Constitution is actually over top federal law, so to say. So to change the Constitution is much more difficult than changing federal law. Those are what we call amendments, right? Federal law is established by Congress. So Congress meets and passes laws. Federal laws, by default, are established only under the auspices given by the Constitution. They have to fit the Constitution and be constitutional. That's where the Supreme Court comes in, and it's sort of like weird diggering around with fucking with what is and isn't legal and depassing. It's judicial review to make sure that the laws passed by the legislative branch actually conform to the auspices of the Constitution. That little cycle that goes around is federal law. The executive branch, third part of it, enacts and executes those laws. Literally, executive, execute. Just remember it like that. And that whole big commambulation is federal law, the big blanket that goes over top. It's mostly considered with how America acts over state lines, across state lines, and how America acts outside of its borders, right? In relation to talking to other countries about this, that, and the other. After that, you have a million different little tiny things, right? The purview and the extent of federal law and federal legislation and federal mandate is massive. It is multiple courses in college. You talk to a lawyer, okay? But for the long and short of it is, with that, you have underneath the president, the executive branch, like a big claw going in. Underneath that is the federal agencies, and the federal agencies have inside the federal agencies operations and standards and mandates and all sorts of stuff. That's kind of a mix of how the legislation passes the law, right? You have to do this. Then the executive branch will interpret and execute the law, and then the judicial branch will come in and say whether or not the law can even exist and whether or not the executive branch is actually executing the law appropriately. That creates the little minor things that the federal government can do. I'm just kind of describing the sort of capillaries that interact with state law. The other second major form of law in America is state law, right? Those are the two forms of sovereignty in America because we have what they call states' rights, which I know, don't get yourself bogged down by the Civil War conversation. States' rights is a real thing. States have rights. It was part of why we became the United States as opposed to just America. Because the Revolutionary War ended, and so we had bonded together as states. But once we've won and we're going to establish a constitution post the creation of America, you now have to give all of these extremely powerful individual colonies who are all, relatively speaking, as economically independent and as potentially militarily dangerous as just any fucking country in Europe. Right? That's New England, which, by the way, New England holds more wealth than almost any equivalent landmass on Earth in history. Like, it is the New England continent, the true Yankees, by the way. When you say Yankee and people in America like, I'm not a Yankee, it's because we're not from there. Those are Yankees. Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Delaware, Maine, New York, I say Virginia, and then the Carolinas and Maryland. And Massachusetts, did I say it? I should have named them going from the top down. Rhode Island, there we go. I probably missed one. That chunk, right? All of those individual states had sovereignty on its own, basically. You know, even if this is a might makes right argument, but in a very real sense, because they have their own borders, they have their own essentially, and basically their own established government, and they can say like, why should we, now that the problems are past, really join in with this? You know, what is the value of us joining this union, literal union of states? And so you were given different privileges and stuff. And basically what they, boiling a lot of conversations down, Federalist Papers, all sorts of crazy shit that's a little bit out of my pay grade at times. New Jersey. Oh, sorry, I didn't name the trash can. Excuse me, sir, I believe you may have forgotten the sovereignty of a free man in the land. It's hard for me. I just started memorizing, like naming the ones I was thinking of, because it starts with Virginia, because I'm thinking of Yorktown, like literally. At Connecticut, I forgot to say Connecticut. I would have to start again. Okay, hold on. Let me try to go down from the top, like with my eyes closed, and try to remember the shape of America. Maine, Vermont, Delaware, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Maryland, the Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia. Right? I should have counted on my hands. I know I probably forget, but like honestly, start asking all streamers if they can name the original 13 colonies, and you're gonna get fucked up. Oh my god. New Hampshire? Did I forget New Hampshire? God damn it. Fuck me. My friend Josh the journalist, is actually from New Hampshire. And god, they're goofy. Anyway, so when they started building, you know, the union of the states had very specific rules that make sense even to this day, although it's a less beneficial to the states themselves and us as a people as it was then. Back then they were like, we're terrified of tyranny, we don't want anyone to do anything, and we don't want to basically devolve into civil war the moment this is over, which was very possible because you have people with massive amounts of money, gigantic war funds, a battle-tested fucking armies and shit, you know what I mean? And like militias and all this sort of stuff. We have armaments everywhere. We have anything that the fucking British left behind. And so they're like, what we're going to do is cow hamper. What we're going to do is maintain state sovereignty. We're going to let the states have passed the vast majority of actual laws that govern the day-to-day existence of a human being are going to be passed in a specific way by the states, right? And so the states will pass their own laws and have their own constitutions, and then there will be the federal, which all of the states are a part of. All the states agree to the Constitution, basically, literally agree to the Constitution as signatories. And then you will agree with this sort of power sharing. During that, they also precluded the ability for cities to have sovereignty, which is not always the case worldwide. So it eliminated the possibility of city-states inside America, which is why you have people get butthurt about like Chicagoland, you know what I mean? And they're like, well, you know, it's still underneath Illinois, but it's like, yeah, but that's only because Illinois has states' rights. Otherwise, it would literally be Chicagoland. And in different circumstances, Chicago would probably be like, hey, I want to try to take over as much as I can of all the rest of Illinois, probably the northern chunk of Indiana, and a little bit of Michigan here and there. You know what I mean? It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. Which one is the Bernie state? Vermont. I think he lives in New Hampshire. If I remember correctly. I can't remember. But anyway, so now you have states' rights and you have federal rights, or state law and federal law. And those are the two laws that are always bouncing off of each other. All state law still has to abide by the federal constitution, right? So Supreme Court decisions can still go down to the state level, and the vast majority of states are for the most part, with notable little weird differences here and there. And I don't know the full legislative buildup of every state because I don't have that kind of education, but generally they're put together with the same sort of three house, government. So the three part. So they all have a Supreme Court, state Supreme Court. They have a state legislature and they have a state executive branch. I think most of the state legislatures are bicameral. So you have state senates and state representatives, state senators and state representatives, and basically the counties turn into the states at that level. So like you'll get X per county and then X per population in order to kind of balance all of that out. Very, very, very complicated, but that's your civics lessons for the day. Sorry, I know that is not as interesting as why no more boobies in video games? Excuse me, but why cabal of strange Semites controlling the world? I know it's not as immediately like arresting, but like that's your civics lesson for the day. Oh my god, thank you Asmongold for a whole minute and 10 seconds of content. This is how much I talked about world history, American civics. and did mental mapping. We ended up at Koso. I prefer this ADD shit way more. Sorry, no Asmongold.
Shift from a physical medium to a digital one.
Yeah, I think that the two big barriers to this.
He's talking about the Balkans too. Look, we went right back to the Balkans. Here we are.
Well, there's actually three if you're including the U.S. The third one, of course, is lobbying and special interests that are bribing elected officials to do things that are bad for the people in order to get more money. So, like, there's that. That's kind of a...
That is... Dude, it's crazy. Shout out for him to having more viewers than me. Minecraft kids gotta go somewhere,
Eat
you know?
it all after a year or two, because it's not convenient
I bet that's
anymore.
probably what they do with things like FIFA. Shut down. And I know this might sound crazy, but I actually don't think that's the problem, and I don't think that by buying a video game, because if you tell people that every single online game has to maintain uptime in perpetuity forever, nobody would ever make an online game again, because you can't make a projection like that. That's insane. No business can function that way. So you would have to make the option for the developer to shut down a game. You have to have that, or no video games can exist online, period. So what is the solution? The solution is that if the developer or the publisher is not providing that option to play online, that other people that own the game can provide that instead. That is what the solution is. It's not making the companies keep the servers up, because that's outrageous.
I completely zoned out there. I was trying to listen to that, but probably he's right. I'm just going to say Asmongold correct. Based Asmongold. What? Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.